To week 2 of family law practice. Basically, we shall be discussing family law 2 family law 2. So, scope of week's work. This week is dedicated to children matters, meaning of a child, rights of a child, the welfare principle, and other considerations upon which decisions on children are based. So basically, when we talk about a child, of course, the Children's Act defines a child as any person below 18 years. And of course, that's something that flows from the Constitution. When you look at Section 2 of the Children's Act, read together with, I think, Article 257 of the Constitution, they give you a definition of a child to mean someone who is below 18 years. So rights of a child, we have a lot of rights provided for by Article 34 of the Constitution. Basically, when you look at Article 34 of the Constitution, they state that a child has a right to be brought up by his or her parents, and then the same rights are also reiterated in Section 4 of the Children's Act. So basically, when you look at Section 4 and 5 of the Children's Act, they give you what are the rights of a child, but among which is the right to be brought up by your parents, and which we shall be looking at in this workshop. Then we shall also talk about the welfare principle. Of course, the welfare principle also flows from the Constitution, as well as the International Convention, like the African Charter of the Children's Rights, all speak to what we call the best interest principle of the child. And this is enshrined in Article 3 of the African rights of children, as well as in our Section 3 of the Children's Act, which all speak to the effect that of the best interest principle. And I think Section 3, subsection 2 of the Children's Act gives you what the best interest principle of a child is entailed to include emotional, physical, and financial needs of the child. So that basically means when the court is making any decisions to do with the child, they must look into all those instances. Of course, we have a lot of case law which have reiterated the best interest principle of the child and how it is paramount in all children principles. We have the case of precaria. In the matter of precaria, it discusses, of course, the best interest principle, and this is something that we met in family law when we were at undergraduate. So it's really the same thing, and the application doesn't vary. So we shall look at child welfare remedies, which include declaration of parentage. So declaration of parentage applies where you find that a parent has said that he's not the father of the child. So where someone declines parentage, then you go for what we call declaration of parentage. Then custody and maintenance of children. So this is one of the rampant fields in family law, which requires a lot of litigation. So you find that most of the single mothers, they always want maintenance of the child. And always in divorce proceedings, you find that one of the biggest contention is who is going to take custody of the child. But basically, when we talk about custody, is among the father and the mother who is going to stay with the child. And in some instances where you find that the father has left the child to stay with the mother, or the other way around, then can the other party or can the other partner be forced to pay what we call maintenance of the child? Of course, the Children Act is very instructive. It provides for maintenance and how do you apply for maintenance. We shall look all how to go about that in our workshop. So the continuum of child protection orders, such as care order, interim care order, supervision order, interim supervision order, contribution order, exclusive order, search and production order, and recovery order. So it's very, very important to understand these orders, because in an oral question they can ask you to list any 5 orders that can be given in children matters. So the first one is care order, and care order applies where, for example, you have found a child is abandoned, so you have to apply for what we call care order. And we also have an interim care order, which is a preliminary measure. We also have a supervision order by the probation and social welfare officer. We shall also look at the probation and social welfare officer in children matters and what's the role as far as children matters are concerned. We shall also look at interim supervision order, contribution order, for example, where you want the other person to contribute to the welfare of the child then exclusion order. You could want the other party to be excluded from assessing the child because of some other reasons. Then certain production order, it could apply for documents. For example, you want a birth certificate of the child, recovery order, etc. So basically, it's very, very important to understand these orders, but most of them, you can give them their ordinary meaning of the words because it's going to help you to understand which orders you're applying to. But the Children's Act is very instructive and also conclusive because it's one of those laws that was properly drafted, that it leaves almost no loopholes or no lacuna for the cases to solve. So when you find that most of the cases in family law, they're always interpreting the act or maybe emphasizing the act. So you find that as far as children matters are concerned, we don't have any gaps, and the reason for that is because children are the future of our country, and any loophole in the child law and the children law can lead to a collapse of our country. So I think that's one of the reasons that the Children's Act is one of those acts that was properly drafted, leaving no loopholes to be utilized by some scrupulous dealers. So guardianship of children, all types of guardianship, foster care applications, conditions and procedures for fostering children, duties of foster parents, adoption, national and international adoption. So basically, we shall look at guardianship. Guardianship ceases once the person reaches or gets 18 years. And also shall look at under what circumstances can one apply for guardianship. Of course, when you look into the Children's Act, it's also very instructive as far as Guardianship Act is concerned. You have to look at that specific section of the law. Then we shall also look at adoption and intercountry adoption. So when we talk about adoption, we can have national adoption as well as intercountry adoption. So when we talk about intercountry adoption basically means that these are adoptions between two countries. Where I find that one, we have a German citizen who wants to adopt a Ugandan child, that those becomes intercountry adoption. But when you have a Ugandan citizen who stays in Australia and wants to adopt a Ugandan child, those are still national adoption. So you have to understand that. So the Children's Act is very clear, provided that once we have an intercountry adoption, it's only the High Court that can entertain that matter, whereas for Africans, they can go into the Chief Magistrates Court. So basically, that's about that. Then we shall look at the procedures for adoption of the children, and the procedures are always provided for by the Act. Because when you look at the Children's Act, even gives you those forms. I think under the children rules, they give you those forms which you are supposed to fill when you're going to apply for either adoption or maybe guardianship. So there are all of the different institutions and offices charged with the duty of ensuring the protection, safety, security, and welfare of the children, such as the National Children's Authority. So we have the National Children's Authority, I think under section like 7 of the Children's Act. I'm not sure about that, but when you check there, they give you the functions of the Children's Authority, to include, of course, advising the government on children programs like immunization, to also help in drafting or amending the laws as far as children, to deal also directly with other children centers like remand homes and also baby homes, just like that. So you have to look at that section, because that can be your oral question to explain the duty or what role does the National Children's Authority play as far as children matters are concerned. So we shall look at the probation and social welfare officer, and we are saying that in every district there must be a probation and social welfare officer. So you find that in all matters, for example, if you are applying for adoption or if you are applying for guardianship, you need a report from the probation and social welfare officer. So this PSWO officer plays the role of a parent where the child has no parent. So you find in almost all children matters, we have the PCWO officer. Even when you want to apply to the maintenance, you can also go through the probation and social welfare officer, who is always on every district. So we shall also look at approved homes. Approved homes are these homes that can be used to take care of children. I think we have the Sun Babies home, which we all know about that. Those are approved homes like Sun Babies home and others, which take care of the children. And of course, for you to go into an approved home, you must have a care order. So we are going to look at that. But what you have to understand is the Children's Act is again very clear, provides for approved homes and how does a child get into an approved home, because you don't just pick a child on the street and then you go and put him or her in an approved home. You need a care order, or maybe an interim care order so a child can be kept, I think, for not more than 48 hours, or even the police can put a child in the care order for more than 48 hours. So we shall look at also the role of the Uganda police. The Uganda police, of course, is very disciplined force, and it plays a very good role as far as children matters are concerned. What they do, in case you find a child who is missing, you have to also take him to police. You get, in case there is domestic violence, or maybe the child is being tortured, you can report him to police. So the Uganda police is a very very sound force as far as children matters is concerned. Then shall also look at the local government councils. You have the local government courts and the Children's Act. Still, when you look in the Children's Act, they provide for the local government councils, or LC1 courts, also to sub-county levels, which also help in entertaining where there are disputes between the children, to implement government programs like immunization, and also ensure that these children are getting schools through government programs, those ones who cannot afford private facilities. So Family and Children's Court. So we shall look at also the Family and Children's Court, introduced to handle children matters, the High Court, Court of Appeal, and also the Supreme Court. So learning outcomes. By the end of this workshop, students should be able to advise on children's rights and all the child protection and welfare remedies. So basically, when we talk about children's rights, we are saying that the first right of the child is, of course, to grow and live with his or her parents, as provided for by Article 34 of the Constitution, and also reiterated by Section 4 of the Children's Act. That's a fundamental or the canon of the rights of a child, that you cannot deprive him or her the right to live with his or her parents. So you find that even if you are applying for guardianship, you need consent from the parent of that child, because it's a constitutional right which you cannot just take away. Then advise on the rights of children and children protection and welfare remedies. Of course, there are a lot of children protection measures. Of course, we shall look at care orders, custody orders, and maintenance orders, among all that stuff. So identify alternative dispute resolution remedies for child welfare. So here we shall be applying conciliation, negotiation. For example, when we have a child offender, you can apply reconciliate, caution, all those things, as we looked at the children diversion guidelines. Then we shall also look at demonstrate the application of the principles of law and the procedure for fostering a child. So we shall see also how do you foster a child. And for you to foster a child, of course, you have to apply for foster under the foster placement rules. We have the foster placement rules, and those foster placement rules are the ones that basically govern fostering a child. So fostering a child basically means that you want to stay with that child for a meantime. Then we shall also look at draft the various applications for child welfare orders, such as an application for custody, interim custody order, maintenance, declaration of parentage, and an agreement on custody of a child, as well as relevant court orders. So basically, when we talk about custody can be full custody or interim custody. So interim custody is a preliminary measure. Then we have the full custody. Then we shall also look at the maintenance, declaration of parentage, an agreement of custody of a child. So an agreement of custody of a child is where the parents just sign the contract to agree he's going to take care of the child. and the relevant court orders. So we can have a care order, we can have a maintenance order, declaration of parentage order, among others. Present and prosecute an application for custody, interim custody of a child, maintenance, and declaration of parentage of a child, as well as other relevant applications necessary for ensuring the welfare of a child. So identify ESCO issues. Confidentiality is very key in children matters. We also have the best interest principle. You must make sure that you keep the best interest principle to all the matters you're dealing with the child. Don't overcharge clients. For example, in adoption measures, don't bribe parents to give their children for adoption. Avoid all forms of human trafficking, because the reason why we have a very stringent law on children is because people used to want to human traffic their children and take them abroad. So that's why we have now measures. So we shall look at the applicable legislation to include the Constitution, Judicial Act, and the Children's Act, international conventions to include United Nations conventions on the rights of the child, African Charter on the rights of the welfare of the child. And we shall look at custody and maintenance, basically, which was discussed in the case of Precaria Nakagwa versus Dominico Chugundu. And this case, of course, reiterates the fact that in all matters to do with the children, then you must make sure that the best interest principle of the child is looked at. And we are saying that this best interest principle includes emotional, physical, as well as financial needs of the child. So we shall also look at blood tests and scientific proof of parentage. And the case of Tendo Sunita, next friend Choncho Janet versus Anita Tumwebaze. The principle is that once you have DNA scientific report, then it's conclusive evidence of declaration of parentage. So once there is a DNA report, it basically means that you cannot apply for declaration of parentage, because courts have stated that it's conclusive evidence that can prove parentage. So we got part A, Sarah Madu and Stephen Kasikano, the biological parents of Farawa Kasikano, a girl aged 14. Sarah and Stephen have been cohabiting for 16 years. Sarah Madu works in Saudi Arabia. When she left for Saudi Arabia last year, she left their daughter Farawa with her husband. When she returned home in December 2024, she found out that Stephen was having an affair with their house help, Merda, and that Merda had given birth to a baby boy. Stephen does not deny paternity of this baby boy. Melinda has been mistreating Flower, and Stephen is aware but has not taken any action. Flower informed her mother that her father entered her bedroom on 3 occasions and touched her breasts and other parts of her body, which their school headmistress and teachers told them were bad touches. Flower has threatened to take poison if her mother returns to work and leaves her with her father and house help. Sarah's biological mother is ready and willing to raise Flower, and Flower loves her grandmother and is extremely comfortable with her. Sarah is due to return to Saudi Arabia on 18th. She wants to ensure that when she returns to work, her daughter will be safe and happy. Sarah wants the matter to be handled very fast so that she does not miss her flight or prejudice her work. So basically, when you're reading these facts, you have to look at what's the intention of the client you have and what is he telling you. So from here, you can see that it's no longer in the best interest of the child to live with her father. So you are a newly appointed legal officer at the legal clinic aid of the Law Development Center. The manager has assigned you Sarah Madu's case, the facts of which are summarized as above. Advise the manager on the remedies which the law provides for and choose the most suitable. So basically here you would have to go, one, we have the interim custody, and then after you go for what we call full custody. Those are two different remedies, interim custody, and then you go for what we call custody. So the interim remedy, you proceed by notice of motion supported by an affidavit, and you must prove that the child is within an immediate danger. Then after that you also go for full custody, which is whereby the child is going to be given custody now, where we have an application in the children rules. That application will support an affidavit. So basically that's how you go about that. In the view of the best deal remedy, which you have advised above, and in consideration of the ideal documents, what further information and evidence would you require? So basically, the most appropriate here would be custody. The most one would be application for the full custody, what was the most appropriate. And also the documents would be those ones. You have to draft the application for custody supported by an affidavit. Then B, Fred Winsowoka founded the Grace and Mercy Ministries in 2018. The arms of this ministry are the Jesus Cares Church, Bugiri, Grace and Mercy Schools in Bugiri District, and West Children Home in Bugiri District. Pastor Fred, as he is commonly identified in Bugiri, looks after destitute children, orphans, and abandoned children. By December 2024, there was over 20 boys under the age of 16 in Grace Children's Home. Pastor Fred was arrested at 7 today by officers of Uganda Police, and as in police custody, this followed a former complaint of serious child abuse and sodomy of many of the boys under Pastor Fred's care by the area local council chairman. The security guard, who is an employee of Grace and Mercy Ministries, led 3 of the boys to the home of the area LC1 chairman, and each of them reported a case of sodomy against Pastor Fred. Investigation showed that 10 boys under the age of 15 were sodomized and unaware and obviously were traumatized. The boys are still in the Grace Children Home. You are the legal officer in the office of the ministry responsible for children. The minister has learned about this matter and is concerned about the welfare of these children. He would like action to be taken immediately. The minister has sought your advice in the remedies which should be sought in order to ensure the welfare of these children. Advise the minister. So basically, here you have to apply for interim care order as well as the full care order. So it's one is the interim, the other is the care order. So I think the applications provided for by the children rules, we proceed by the application together with an affidavit to get what we call a care order. So basically that care order is going to help us to put those children into the remand home, or maybe any of the approved homes. So what is important for you to understand is the approved homes cannot admit any child when you don't have either an interim care order or a full care order. Part C, Massives worked as a house help in Nixon Dombe's home at Kasanga to Wakso district. Nixon Dombe is one of Uganda's celebrated musicians who trades under the name Nixon Band. When she conceived at the age of 16, Nixon Dombe, who was then single, chased her from his home. Massive Zulu maintains that Nixon Dombe is the father of her son, Zone Sununji, now aged 1. Matthew maintains that her first sexual encounter was with Nixon Zion Siningo in Albino and is also a deaf mute. When he chased her from his home, Massive returned to her mother's home at Chanamukaka in Mathaka. Massive's mother, Madina Mokisa, is unemployed. Mercy has not been able to work again as househelp because no one is willing to employ her with her child. Last week, Mercy was able to return to Nixon Dembo's home. Nixon and his wife were very hostile to Mercy. Nixon denied paternity of this child and threw her out of his home with the baby. He told her that there are no albinos or deaf or mute people in his family. Zeno is very sickly. He needs special medical care and a special diet. Mercy and her mother cannot afford even a day's milk for Zion. Martha is seriously depressed over Zion's condition. Advise the Chief Executive Officer and remedies which you will seek in order to ensure the welfare of Zion Synergy. So basically here you have to, from the facts you can see, one, the person wants to declare parentage, and secondly, they need maintenance. So basically here what you will do is an omnibus application, the application that forsakes both declaration of parentage as well as maintenance. So the application for declaration of parentage, I think, is a complaint on us, which is also provided for by the Act, and it has to be an omnibus application in the way that it's seeking both parentage as well as maintenance. So D, you succeeded in all steps which you took in C above. You served the court order upon Nixon Dombe and has acknowledged receipt of the same. However, Nixon paid heavily, built man to raid Madina's home and kidnap the child. The child is now in Dombe's home. The child is looked up in one of the servant rooms behind the main house. The girl whom Dombe employed to look after Sim does not love or care for him. Many times she feeds him once a day, and she does not wish him all his clothes. Sunji has scores on the right part of his body because no one changes his beddings or his position as often as is ideal. Zion is ill, malnourished, and he cries almost all day owing to pain, hunger, and wet beddings. Zion requires urgent medical care, good feeding, and quality attention. Dombe considers his child is a shame and ill luck, and he does not want any musician or anyone to see or know about him. Dombe does not love his child. Mercy and her mother love this child because they believe their children is a gift from God. Mercy is depressed of her child's condition. She's ready to look after her child. She wants to live with and look after her child. The best welfare of the child and also the enrichment. So basically, we are going to apply for maintenance. As you can see, the best applicable thing here would be to apply for maintenance, so as we can have this child taken care of. Because you can see that first and foremost, you serve the court order upon Nixon Dombe and he acknowledged receipt of the same. However, Nixon paid heavily built men to raid Madina's home and kidnap the child. The child is now in Dombe's home. The child is locked up in one of the servant rooms behind the main house. The girl whom Dombe employed to look after Sim does not love or care for him. Many times she feeds him once a day and she does not wash him or his clothes. Sunuji has scores in the right part of his body because no one changes his beddings. Zioni is ill, malnourished, and he cries almost a day owing to pain, hunger, and wet beddings. Zioni requires urgent medical care, good feeding, and quality attention. Dombe considers this child as a shame and ill luck and does not want any musician to know about him. Mercy and her mother love this child because they believe that the child is a gift from God. So advise the chief officer on how best to ensure the welfare of this child. So basically, you can see from the fact it's no longer in the interest of the child to live with this family because first and foremost they don't want him, and at his home she's being loved. So basically, you would here have to seek for custody of this child and then also for maintenance. Draft all the necessary documents. So basically, here I would go for custody of the child and also maintenance, but also we can also go for care. Basically, be cared for, but basically caring means you are putting him in a remand home. So basically, here you're looking at custody, that the child be taken to his or her family, and then you apply for maintenance of the heart of the child. Then in Mukono Family and Children Cause number 2 of 2024, the Honorable Magistrate issued the order labeled AA to the mother of the child in question. In December 2024, the respondent, who is the biological father of this child, found out that the mother of this child lives the life of a common prostitute, and when she goes away at night, she leaves the child with her maid, who is aged 10. This maid often spends the night dancing in nightclubs. The child has not yet started school. The father of the child desires to enroll her in his side Nadia primary school and ensure that this child grows up with an exemplary mother figure. The biological father of the child is married and his wife is ready and willing to receive his child and raise her. Advise the respondent on what should be done in order to ensure the child's welfare. Necessary documents. So when you look at AA, what we have in AA is we having application for custody and maintenance of Joy Tendo, and this matter coming up, custody of Joy Tendo B is hereby granted to the applicant. So basically here we can go for revocation of the custody order, and I think that would be a notice of motion supported by an affidavit to basically have this child back to the original parent. So you go what we call revocation. You go and revoke the custody order. and it would be notice of motion supported by an affidavit. So please, in case you want a mastermind group where members pay a monthly subscription fee and they receive notes and also in-depth discussion on Saturday at 8 p.m. and Sunday at 8 p.m. Through all the 4 campuses, that is Mbare, Kampala, Lira, as well as Mbarara. So our discussions are entirely online. So even the work is entirely online. We have a WhatsApp group where students give feedback from their different farm rooms according to their PA. So in case you need something like that, please WhatsApp me on 075 67 284 075 67 284. You can also see that number in our bio or in my bio, and then you can reach up to me if you want to make an investment in yourself. You know, Warren Buffett says that an investment in yourself pays the best dividend. So students are advised to read and appropriate all areas which are not specifically covered by the workshop, including the following: rights of the child generally. So we shall look at basically what are the rights of the child, to include right to education, right to access government programs like immunization, freedom from torture, among others. All child welfare orders provided for under the Children's Act, Cap 62, as amended, including the procedure for seeking each. So basically, we shall be looking at supervision order, maintenance order, exclusion order, among others. Principles of law, relevant procedure, and the nature of application, and documents relating to foster care. So this one is under the foster care placement rules. It really provides for those ones. Then all the powers and duties of the probation and social welfare officer in matters of the children. We have said that the PCW office has a lot of powers as far as children matters are concerned, including giving recommendation and reports in guardianship and adoption matters. The role of the alternative care panel in matters of intercountry adoption, Uganda. So basically here, the alternative care panel in matters of intercountry adoption in Uganda is to also see whether the applicant is the most appropriate person to take care of the child, among others. The role of the local government, local council courts and family and children's court, the High Court, Court of Appeal, probation and social welfare officer, approved homes in protecting and ensuring the welfare of the children. So I believe we looked at that in the introduction. So workshop 2, by the end of this workshop, students should be able to demonstrate the application of the principles of law on adoption in Uganda, national and in the country adoption. So national adoptions are the ones that have only Ugandan citizens, while intercountry adoptions are the ones where we have a non-citizen. Demonstrate the application of the principles of law on guardianship of children in Uganda. So the Children's Act gives you what you must prove for you to be a guardian, and one of which is you must have not having any criminal record. You must have the children must have been under your foster care placement like for 1 year, a report from a social welfare officer, among others. We have the section, I think section 88 or 86 of the Children's Act. You can look around there because we have all these laws stipulated by the Act. Draft a petition for an order, an adoption order, and a petition for a guardianship order, and the relevant court orders. Of course, these petitions are provided for by the by student rules, and you just have to fill them. Identify and deal with ISCO matters. We said ISCO matters include you must ensure that you uphold the best interest principle of the child, confidentiality, do not rumour your clients, and also ensure that avoid human trafficking, don't bribe people for guardianship, like that. Relevant legislation, the Constitution and the Children's Act, case law, Allen versus Allen. Then have guardianship. Guardianship, of course, we also have the matter of requisition or matter, where the court is saying that, of course, state the best interest of the child must be ensured in all guardianship matters. Then, of course, adoption, we shall look at both intercountry and national adoptions. So when we look at part 1, Miss Lisa Williams interview statement. My name is Lisa Williams. I'm married to Jade Williams. We have been married for 10 years now. We are Australians. I'm a gynecologist. My husband is a social worker who is employed by Hope for Every Child and the national organization based in Australia. I have been working with Kitove Hospital for 5 years now. On 3/6/2024, a 2-year-old girl was abandoned Kitove Hospital. The administrator of the hospital reported the matter to Kitove Police. The officer in charge contacted the district probation social welfare. I constructed a PCW about the possibility of adopting the child. The PCWO was positive but advised that she must take steps to find the parents and relatives of the child in the first place. Several radio announcements were aired on several FM radio stations. The photograph of the child was published. No one claimed the child, and after 1 month, the PCWO advised us to foster the child. We will follow other steps which the PCWO advised us to take, and on 2/8 she allowed us to foster the child. We are due to return to Australia. So my name is Lisa Williams. I'm married to Jade Williams. We have been married for 10 years now. We are Australians. So basically this means that these are intercountry adoptions. Advise the Williams on the steps they should take in order to adopt this child. So here we are looking at intercountry adoptions, and the additional information would be you must prove that the original country is going to respect that order. They must have a certificate of good conduct from Interpol. Also, the probation social welfare officer must also state that that country will accept the adoption order. So basically adoption makes is internal. The person becomes as if he's own your child. So what you have to understand is that non-citizens cannot go for guardianship. They can only go for intercountry adoption. Then the issues, don't of course bribe parents to, in case there are any, don't pay the money to, no one should pay money for guardianship, for adoption. Then also uphold the best interest principle, ensure that the matters of the child are being respected due to confidentiality and not overcharging the mzungu. Assume that you have obtained all the necessary information, do the legal documents, and assume that you presented the court order. So basically here we have the adoption petition, and then after the adoption petition we shall extract an adoption order. So an adoption order is just extracted from the petition, just like the way you see annexed AA where we had a maintenance order. I think it just takes the same format. And what you have to understand also here is the petition is provided for, I think, by the children rules. We have the format of the petition in the act, so you just have to fill in. Then part B, my name is Mariana Adiel Kajubi. I am a Ugandan. I work with Uganda's embassy in Britain. I've been living in Britain for 3 years now. I hail from Fort Portal. I employed a maid called Hannah for over 25 years. She was very devoted to her work and totally trustworthy. While in my home, she gave birth to a child whom she named Queen Wimana. Queen's father died. Hannah died last year, and her body was buried at my home in Fort Portal because I do not know any of her relatives. None of her relatives visited Hannah who attended her burial. No one has ever asked about her or claimed to be her relative. Queen is now 5 years old. I do not know any Hannah's or Queen relatives. No one has ever visited Queen or asked about her. Hannah had told me that Queen was a Rwandan because her father was also a Rwandan. I have only one biological child, a girl aged 12. I want to adopt Queen and give her the best life. I can afford her because her mother was more than a maid to me. She was better than many of my relatives. Indeed, I have the means to ensure. So basically here they are giving you the answer because the client is saying that he wants to adopt. So once the client has given you what he wants, first and foremost, what you are supposed to see is it applicable? Is it possible? So if the client has told you I want to adopt, just take your mind away from guardianship and see whether what you want, you can give your client what he wants. Of course, that's how you become the best lawyer. But once you try to talk about guardianship, the client is going to run away. So first and foremost, my name is Mariana Adieri. I'm a Ugandan. So basically here, we can go for national guardianship, whereby this guardianship now is for we can go for national adoptions, national adoptions, where this petition is for Ugandan. And of course, the prerequisite one is that you have been in foster placement of a child for more than 1 year. You have no criminal record. Then you have that age gap. Of course, you must, I think, be like more. There is an age gap that the Act provides. He must be either 10 years younger, but we are going to look at the Act and also have to know that. Then, of course, the documents here would be the petition, but in this instance, it's almost like the ones we drafted for a non-national, but this one is also for a Ugandan. So, part 2, Gabriel Akiki's interview statement. I'm Gabriel Akiki. I'm a Ugandan. I'm self-employed. I constructed a child daycare center and nursery school at Namugongo, Chira in Wakiso district. I have 3 biological children. They are Gabriel Abgori, aged 10, Gideon Arari, aged 5, and Maria Abochi, aged 3. I employed Mugisa Fred, my distant cousin, as the caretaker of my farm at Kakoge for over 10 years. Mugisa died in January 2024, 1 year after the death of the mother of his child. Mugisa's child is Mugisa's Friday and he's 3 years old. I've been living with Friday since his parents died. The bodies of Mugisa and Friday mother were buried in a 2-acre piece of land which I had given them as a gift for their indescribable devotion. Mugisa's father and mother died in his infancy, and Mugisa's stepmother and stepbrothers hated him and did not attend his burial. None of them visited Mugisa, and none of them has reached out at Friday. I do not know any relatives of Mugisa's Friday's mother. I have been free maintaining Farida since his parents died, and I'm willing to provide for him until he completes his education or is otherwise financially independent. Mugisha Friday should inherit the piece of land which I gave to his parents, but upon my death he should have no other claim whatsoever over my property. However, most importantly, I want evidence which can protect me just in case one of my enemies or Mugisha's stepbrothers should report a case or kidnap or other wicked claim over Friday. Give Gabriel Akiki a formal legal opinion on the range of remedies that the law provides in the situation in respect of Mugisha Friday, and advise him in view of his desire on the ideal remedy. So basically, we're going to look at guardianship. We have legal guardianship, customary guardianship, and guardianship by agreement. So the most appropriate here is going to be legal guardianship, and in addition, information whether you have any criminal record, whether there is spousal consent if you are married, and also to make sure that if of course you have a report from the social welfare officer, and the most appropriate document here would be the guardianship petition, which is also in the Act, in the Children's Act. And you have to also extract what we call the guardianship order from that petition. Then when we go to finally part B, they are saying that Gabriel Akiki further informs you as follows. The child daycare center, Gabriel Children Daycare Center and Nursery School, is on a 2-acre piece of land which is registered in my name and the names of my children. Gabriel Abgori, aged 10, in my name and the names of my children. Gabriel Abgori, aged 10, Gideon Arari, aged 5, and Maria Okochi, aged 3. This land is known as Channel Brook. I have the certificate of title to this land. I instructed the lawyer who handled the titling process to ensure that we are registered as joint owners of this land, and this is the position. I have constructed a storage block for the primary school sections as well as a commercial children fun park and play area, which is complete and very popular with children. I need 200 million Uganda shillings to complete the primary school section. I have admitted the children to lower primary education up to primary 4. The school is very popular. I decline to admit many children because the school cannot accommodate them all and at one. I would like to borrow 200 million Ghana shillings from MSCT Commercial Bank to enable the complete this school and take legal advantage of the remedy for my service. I shall invest the proceeds in another business on the land which land shall jointly own with the 3 children. The loans officer has asked me for security of this loan. The only registered land which I can use as security for this loan is Chandondo Brook 185. I'm ready to mortgage this land because I will be investing for my children. If I die or run mad or go missing, their mother can surely use the income from these schools to look after our children until they are financially independent. Advise Gabriel Akiki on how he can successfully mortgage Chandondo Brook. So basically, for you to deal with any property registered in the names of the minor, whether they are solely owning it or maybe you are joint tenants, you need what we call guardianship order to manage that property. And what you must prove is that what you're going to do for that property is in the best interest of the child. So further information would be where is the certificate of title, what do you want to deal with the property, then how will you handle the proceeds from the bank, questions like that. Then the relevant legal documents would be a notice of motion supported by an affidavit. That's basically how you apply for guardianship order. This one is just basically transacting that property registered in the names of the minor. And here we have to borrow, and then after that you extract what we call this guardianship order. But this guardianship order is different from the one we looked above, because this one is only allowing you to deal with the property registered in the names of the of the minor. So that was it for workshop 2. Let us just pass through the moot. By the end of this moot, students should be able to demonstrate appreciation and application of the welfare principle and other children's which should be able to take into account in deciding matters of the child, draw relevant legal documents for custody of the child and opposition of this application, and present and prosecute the respective cases as assigned. So basically here we shall be looking at the custody of the children. And the custody of the children, of course, we said that we proceed by an application supported by an affidavit. Then facts for Oscar Tindmwebwa. Here we can see Oscar Tindmwebwa cohabited with his girlfriend Salama Nacha, and they were blessed with a baby who was born on 12th. Oscar named her Cinderella. They separated in June 2020 because they had irreconcilable differences. When they separated, Nacha took Cinderella to her mother Hajat Bintu, who lives at Chimiende in Buyukwe. In June 2020, Nacha got married to Muhammad, and they were decided to live together at Nakawa Gayadha. In March 2024, Oscar was very disturbed over Cinderella's state of health. On 30th, Oscar received a video recording showing Cinderella standing near and watching a rascal. Note that he is happily married. He believes that it is high time he lived with Cinderella. When Oscar informed his wife about his intention, Oscar is employed on his information and community technology officer, earning 10 million. Oscar and his family have in a spacious 5-bedroom house, 2 Frisians. Then facts for Nancha. Nancha has been living with Cinderella since 19. Nancha left. She lives in a 3-bedroom bungalow at Nakawa Chirumuri, which her late sister. This house sits on a plot of land which measures half an acre. Her sister had constructed 3 self-contained housing units, each with a sitting room and 1 bedroom. These units are in the piece of land but are enclosed in a wall fence. She earns a monthly income of 3 million. So basically here, then have the evidence birth certificate. So basically here what we are going to do is that we shall be arguing for who is supposed to take custody of the child. And of course, custody of the child, we have a lot of cases like Procaria, Nakachua. So both of them, you are trying to prove who is in best circumstances to take custody of the child. So the applicants will be arguing that he should go for Oscar. The defendants, Nancha, will be saying, no, we should have the what? We should have the custody, basing on what, of course, from the facts and applying the law. So basically, that's how we shall be going about the moot. basically contending who should be given custody, and applying the best interest principle, basically arguing that I'm in the best position to take custody of the child, and then the other saying that no, we are the ones the best to take custody of the child. Of course, it's not always a good debate. It gets too emotional, moreover if it's a practical thing, but that's basically what we shall be doing. So I have come to the end of our analysis. In case please you want to join our mentorship program, where we have online discussion on Sunday and Saturday, then we also give you some of all cases on the reading list, and maybe other extra revision that we might not have covered in the workshop in our WhatsApp group during the week. Inbox me or WhatsApp me on 075 67 284. 075 and then we shall, if you can afford a monthly subscription of 100,000 per month, then you can be part of that group, so as you can benefit and have a dedicated group of students. So I wish you a blessed week in your family, as well as you pass your IA. Please have a good and blessed week.